And I just want to say that I kept my word to you, obviously, because I promised you that when and if I made my decision either way, whether I'd run for re-election or whether I would retire, that you'd be the first person I'd talk to. So
yeah, I appreciate the call.
I wanted to make sure that you were the first person, and that's exactly what I'm doing.
Buenos dias. I am here. My guest today is the one and only Councilman Scotty. How you doing today?
Great. Jose, how are you?
Phenomenal, man. Thank you for being here, man.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's been a while.
It's been about a year and a half.
That's right.
I think it's been about a year and a half since I was last here. I think it was the spring of 2024 is when I was here last.
So, for those that don't know, you are a council member of Milton, the town of Milton.
Yes, council member for the town of Milton.
Delaware.
Yep, Milton, Delaware. And I'm also the chair of the Parks and Recreation Committee for the town.
You are at the tail end of your first term. Talk to me. Why choose to run for office just to throw your hat in the ring the first time?
Well, the first time I decided to do it, I was looking around and I saw that there weren't many elections happening. Milton has this weird thing where you'll have a couple of cycles where no one will sign up to run, and then you'll have 3 or 4 years where there's big open elections. And during the time that I decided to run, that was one of those periods where no one was really volunteering to do it. And so I decided that the town needed maybe some more diversity when it came to council. We were very lucky in that we had a very diverse council with women and minorities on it, but we didn't have a lot of younger people on the council. And I think that when you look at the governing bodies, whether it's in Washington, D.C., Dover, or at Town Hall in Milton, they are very heavily to an older crowd. And while there's a lot of wisdom there and a lot of ideas, it's also nice to bring in a more youthful perspective. And so that's why I decided to run the first time. I was 42 when I ran in 2023. Hadn't quite had my 43rd birthday yet. So, you know, it was something I really had wanted to do. Public service is a calling. It's not something you do to make money, or really, if you look at it from the standpoint of the town of Milton, you're never really going to, become famous, It's more something you do to help your neighbors and your friends in the community. And I enjoy doing that.
And I'm curious. So when you first, I want to know the difference. When you first thought about running, you have ideas. Mm-hmm. This is what I want to do. And then I want to hear, what were you able to do?
Sure. I had a couple of ideas of things I wanted to do. First of all, I've always been a little concerned about the lighting in the downtown area, specifically in the neighborhoods. Where I live on the corner of Union and Atlantic, it's very dark at times, especially in those houses on the streets behind me, streets like Hazard and Hemlock and the tree streets, as they call them. And that was a concern that I had. I wanted to see something addressed about that. I also really had an issue that I wanted to see addressed was the trash along the Broadkill River. And to no fault of their own, a lot of the businesses have their dumpsters right there by the river. And the trash does sometimes blow into the river. And for the people of Milton, that is one of our biggest draws to town, is the Broadkill River. People like to fish there. They like to boat there. They like to congregate in our town park. And no one wants to look in the river and see a bunch of trash. So that was something that I was very passionate about. The other thing that I really was growing concerned about in 2020, 2021 was the infrastructure of the town. We've been expanding and growing so rapidly. And a lot of people don't realize that Milton itself is a very small area, but Milton 19968, the county, is a very large area. And someone who lives in Anthem or lives in Reddenwood, they consider Milton to be their town, even though they don't actually live in town limits. Yet the infrastructure for all these developments that are growing around Milton, it's been a struggle to improve them and modernize them over the last 10, 15 years to a standard that will handle the new population growth. We've got a lot of people moving here. They want to be here, but we didn't and I say that this is a problem of lack of focus or vision. 20 years ago, when the infrastructure should have been put in, we didn't do it as a county. And now all of a sudden we're playing behind the eight ball. We're trying to play catch up. And so that was one thing that I really was really passionate about as well. And infrastructure, we're talking street lights, as I mentioned before, the water system, the sewer system, and getting Artesian to finally move the wastewater treatment facility away from the Broadkill River. That was a major eyesore and concern of mine 3-4 years ago. The roads, Union Street and Federal Street, both need to be repaved. They are state roads. And I think that it's time that the state of Delaware actually get involved and do that. So these were all kind of things that I was really looking forward to doing. And we did, actually. We were successful in getting some of these things done. First thing that I did before I even took office is I started negotiating with the businesses in the downtown district, including some that are in one of the buildings that you rent or that you own and rent to people. What we decided to do is we decided to, instead of everyone having their own dumpster, the town doing the dumpster, the businesses paying the town, and the town controlling the dumping. And that led to a much more consistent dumping of trash. And also it allowed us to police the amount of things that were going into the dumpster and be able to prevent it from overflowing. And the last year or so, you have not seen the dumpster along the Broadkill River overflowing and falling into the Broadkill River during things like the 4th of July celebration or bargains on the Broadkill. So we did a good job of cleaning up the river. And, I've heard from a lot of people that said, it's just nicer to walk down there. You walk down the Governor's Walk, it doesn't smell, it's cleaner, and it's just a more pleasant environment to be in. And I think that's important for the people in Milton because we want to be outside, we want to be active, and we want to enjoy the natural beauty of the town of Milton. And so for that, that's very important. I think that was a great accomplishment. And I thank my colleagues on the town council for seeing that vision and voting to approve some of those changes that we made. I think it's been a great upgrade for the town. And if you go behind Irish Eyes and look today, there's only one dumpster there instead of 3 or 4. It's a much better, and we are building an enclosure to go around that. That should be done by the end of my first term, which is next year, which is April of 2026. Another thing that we did over the last couple of years is we started the process of talking about modernizing the streetlights, something that I definitely wanted to do. And when Delmarva Power did the upgrade on Mulberry Street, I don't know if you're familiar with the upgrades of Mulberry Street, precision aimed LED lights that are black sky compliant, dark sky compliant. They were open to the idea of doing other areas of town. And I worked with Mrs. Rogers and Jim Smith, who is our Delmarva rep, to come up with a plan to start the process of modernizing the Milton's street lighting system. And the hope is within the next couple of years that all the streetlights will be LED and that there will be, in some of the darker places, added streetlights. Now, why is this important to everybody? Well, first of all, LED lights cost less money. And our Delmarva Power bill is a lot of what we pay in taxes each year. So this should cut our bill quite a bit. The second thing is, and I think this is important for everybody out there that's just kind of thinking about lighting and street lights, when you look at the streets themselves, I am proud of the fact that now the streets, behind me especially, are going to be safer. The tree streets, Behringer Street, Chandler Street, they're all going to be finished up sometime this year. And those streets are going to be a little bit brighter, which means people are going to be safe, feel safe to walk home from Irish Eyes in the dark. I'm proud of the fact that, now my son can ride his bike, at dusk and be able to see to get home. I like the idea that me and my wife can walk the dogs a little bit later into the evening, and we can talk to our friends and neighbors. And with good street lights and good infrastructure, you can actually feel the community come together because people will get out and they will want to walk, which also makes us healthier. And I think it's just a really good idea because it gives you a strong sense of community that you can get out there and walk around. I don't know how many people I met over the last 5-6 years just by walking around town. And to be able to do that a little bit later, or even walk to Irish Eyes, have a couple of drinks, maybe a little bit of food. Some people are like, I want to get home by 8 o'clock because it gets dark at nighttime. And I don't want to, now we'll have better street lighting in those areas. And hopefully within the next couple of years, I'm thinking within the next 3 to 5 years, the entire town possibly could be converted to LEDs. And I think that's a big deal, because we've got to move the technology forward. So I think that's a very good step in that direction. Another thing that was not on my radar when I ran in 2023 is the idea of parking. This was something that I really didn't know a lot about. I knew we didn't have a lot of parking, but I didn't realize just how difficult it would be to actually do something about it. And through the leadership of Mayor Collier and Vice Mayor Lee Revis Plank, we began negotiations with the Milton Historical Society. The Milton Historical Society was looking for a little bit of revenue to help offset some of their issues. And they came to us and asked if we would be interested in creating a parking solution. And what came out of that is a new parking lot that will provide approximately 62 new parking spots in the downtown area. It's going to be right there by the Milton Historical Society in that old lot. And I'm also proud that one of the things that I helped with that was when it came time to build the lot, to construct the lot, I reached out to Representative Stell Parker Selby and Senator Russ Huxtable, along with Mrs. Rogers, our town manager, and I helped secure $120,000 in CTF money in order to construct that parking lot. So that is, and then between that and then the raising of our impact fees for developers, this parking lot will be constructed with 0% of that money coming from, taxpayer money. It'll all come from developer impact fees and from state CTF funds. So I'm really proud of that fact because a lot of people talk about how they don't want to, especially in Milton, I'm tired of paying taxes for infrastructure, make the developers and make the state step in. This is exactly what we did here. The mayor and the vice mayor got the ball rolling, and I was just happy that I was a small part of that by being able to, get that CTF money for the town. So, and it was a collaborative group effort. I thank everyone. We all worked on that very hard and were able to do that. And that's great taxpayer savings because taxpayers aren't paying a cent for that construction.
Wow, Scotty, I must say, this is so refreshing. I'm extremely glad that we are having this conversation because as a person that lives in Milton, if we were not having this conversation, I would have never thought about this. Like, it's true. You talked about the dumpsters. Mm-hmm. My wife and I, she's an avid walker. And for years, that's a part of town that when we get down, we'll skip that. Mm-hmm. And then walk around the library and continue our walk. Mm-hmm. Where now I'm like, you know what, babe? That smell might be gone. Let's go. Now that it's spring, spring is here.
Spring is here.
We want to do that, and also about the parking lot. As a business owner, knowing this, mm-hmm. we can also strategize on how to enhance our businesses, mm-hmm. right? Because now there's more parking.
People say there's not enough parking in downtown. There's enough parking if you're willing to walk, but most people want to be as close to the building as possible. And in that case, no, we do not have enough parking. Right there by the theater, by the library, it will double the amount of downtown centralized spots overnight. And so it's going to be a huge deal for the town of Milton. We'll have less people struggling for a place to park right there. A lot of people park on Chestnut Street. They park on Behringer Avenue, Behringer Street. These are smaller streets that, there is parking allowed there, but it makes it very tough for not only people driving down those roads, but also the people that own those streets. this lot is going to be a huge deal for the town of Milton. And especially when we have things like concerts in the park on Wednesday nights, the festivals we have, the Horseshoe Crab Festival and the Bargains on the Broadkill, we're still going to have the shuttles from what I understand from the chamber, but here's a whole nother parking solution that people have wanted, and we were able to get that for them. And I'll say that if you ask me what my two proudest things that I've been able to help accomplish, and I say help because, my colleagues have helped me. If I have an idea, they help me. If they have an idea, I help them. The two proudest things that I have been able to accomplish or help accomplish over the last 2.5 years is one is those street lights, the enhanced street lights, and the other is the parking lot. Yes, the dumpster thing is very important as well, but the dumpster is really only, it's going to clear up that one little space. The parking is going to change the entire downtown and where people park and where people walk. So I've been very, very proud of that, that we're going to be able to provide more infrastructure. And again, infrastructure that is provided by the developer. The developer impact fees will be paying for the majority of the construction, along with the $120,000 of CTF community transportation funds. This is not coming from town taxes, and I think that's important for people to know that yes, there are people out there that are looking at what's best for the town, but also how do we do it in a fiscally responsible way to make sure that it's not falling on the backs of the taxpayers. Because I don't think any taxpayer sits there and says, I want to build a new parking lot so people from Rehoboth or Lewis or Georgetown can come and see a show at the Milton Theater. They're worried about infrastructure for their daily lives. And that's what we're trying to do. Make sure that the infrastructure we need for visitors is not going to come at the expense of the taxpayer.
And Milton got so much going on. We got restaurants. We got new restaurants coming into town, right?
Oh,
we
yes.
are in festival season, right?
Yes, we
about
are.
to start. So we have concerts in the park. You have all the different festivals. We have the farmers market. I really enjoy that. Out of everything that I just mentioned, what's your favorite? Like that you find you Melissa, and Scotty Jr. going to often?
Well, selfishly, I'm going to say concerts in the park, the sounds of the season, the concerts every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. And I say selfishly because I'm the one that books that. That is, this is my third year running concerts in the park, but it's my second year actually booking it. I took over for the late Councilman Emery West when he passed in March of 2023. This is like I said, this will be my, I did it in 2023. I ran his program, and then I ran it in 2024, and I'll run it again this year. And I've booked it. It's a great lineup this year, and it'll be on the town's website soon. That's probably the favorite one because I'm involved in it. But if I have to take myself out of it, and I just say that because I really enjoy the music, but I will say that I really enjoy the farmers market every Friday. It's almost like a part of my whole summer.
Me too.
Whatever I do on a Friday, whether I come down here and spend time with my mother, whether I go out of town and go do something for the afternoon, I always make sure I'm back by, 3:30 for farmers market, and seeing Tressa Brittingham and her smiling face there at the opening, and all the great vendors. We have lots of great vendors that show up every Friday. It's just a great community event. You see all your friends and neighbors. Some of them, that's the only time you see them all summer, is every Friday at the farmers market.
Right.
So it is one of my favorite places to go during the during the season. And by the way, how excited are you about the new restaurant coming to Milton there on
that's awesome.
The sushi restaurant?
That's awesome.
Preston Russell, who owns Zava, is creating, and I can't remember the name of it. I think it's Loda is what he's going to call it. It's going to be sushi and Asian cuisine. And I'll just say that it's really refreshing to see something different. Milton there for a while, we had 2 pizza places, we had 2 coffee shops, and don't get me wrong, love them all, but it's nice to have some spice of life, something different. I'm super excited about that. And I heard that it's going to open sometime in April. I'm I'm hoping that it's going to open on time because I can't wait.
That's right.
I'm going to be
It's
there
gonna
I'm going to be there opening day. I don't care what they say about opening day. You know, it can be a little shakedown. I'm going to be there opening day.
And you're just going back to the farmers market. What I love about it is that ending my week that way.
Yes.
I look forward to. I go home, pick up my wife and being
Yes.
able. And then I've been introduced. I can't wait. I go there and get freshly made hot sauce.
Yes.
Microgreens. Like all these things that I've been able to learn about right there at home in Milton.
Yeah. Mike Frank is the guy that makes the hot sauce, and it's one of the best. I'm not a huge fan of hot sauce, but personally, but I've tried his hot sauce and it is very good.
Yeah,
it is very good. And I mean, the one thing I love about it too is you can get a little bit of everything.
That's right.
I'll pop in and get some empanadas from the empanada guy, and then on the way out, I might get, whether it's a snow cone or a ice cream or something for my son. There's just something about the farmers market. It really is, in many ways, the summer town hall. You go there and you see people. That. And, and by the way, most of your mayor and council are there each week. I'd say 5 to 6 of us are there each week, every week, because it's that important of a community event, not just for us to be seen, but because we enjoy it ourselves. We enjoy buying the produce, buying the food, walking around, talking to people. And, my little boy's grown up at the farmer's market. I mean, the first year of the farmer's market, I think the first year of the farmer's market that he was alive was down at the river, I believe. We'd take him down in his stroller and, let him look at everything. But now, one thing they have at this farmer's market now, every now and then they have a petting zoo. He loves that. He loves to be able to pet the goats and pet the chickens, and although he's always trying to get me to take one home with me, which, no, we do not allow in Milton at this time. No backyard chickens yet. But, he just has a ball. He looks forward to it.
That's right.
He really does.
Well,
So,
is he walking around shaking hands yet? Because I know
not
we've
yet.
seen him go from your shoulders to a stroller, and now you're saying we're going to see him on a bicycle soon.
well, I was being a little facetious with the bicycle, but no, my son, he's over 2 now. When I was elected, or when I announced that I was running for my first term, he wasn't even quite a month old yet. I announced that I was running in early December of 2022. He was born in November, so he wasn't even a full month old when I first decided to run for council. And when I was sworn in, he was only about 5 months old. So I've been very blessed in the fact that the town has got to see him grow up. Many people, whether you agree with the way I vote or don't agree with the way I vote, people know that, I'm out and about in the community. My son's with me, and they recognize that, he is a large portion of the reason why I do what I do. And I've been very thankful that the town has been respectful enough of my time with him. Yes, people will walk up and say, "Councilman, how are you doing? How's little Scotty?" But when I'm trying to spend time with him, people have been very, very good about, not critiquing or complaining or bringing concerns to me until he's gone. And I'm really thankful for that, because, it is important when you have a family to be able to spend time with them. And he's grown up, and it's no fault of his own. He didn't ask for this. He's grown up in the public sphere in Milton over the last 2 years. And he's done well. And the people in town, I feel, he's got a lot of honorary or surrogate grandparents out there who love him probably as much as I do. And so it's very nice. And hey, he gets invited to things like the dog. I didn't get invited. He got invited to the Dogfish Head Halloween party this year. There's pictures of him on my phone. He was the cowboy, and they were all dressed up as cowboys and cows and things. My son, he is, one of the best things I've ever done. And I'm glad that he gets to live in a town like Milton that embraces children, especially children of people. And he's had a great childhood so far. And I can't wait. I think this summer, to answer that first question, is I think this summer you will see him out walking around shaking hands. He is starting to bike. And he has shown some interest in it. So, but yeah, he's a very lucky kid. He's a very lucky kid.
That's what's up, man. So, as here you are wrapping up your first term. What's next for you? Are you running again? Are you just going to tap out? What's going on?
That's the question that I've been asked a lot. As a matter of fact, it's odd because we have an election going on, or just wrapped up, and a new mayor and council coming in here in April. And I've been asked a lot, what are my future plans? And I've thought about it long and hard, and I have to admit that I did want to make sure that I waited until this election was over before I made a final decision. But my decision is that, yes, I will be running for re-election in 2026 for my Milton Town Council seat. So there will be at least one incumbent on the ballot next year. So, and I do plan to run, not on what I've done, but what I plan to do. There's a lot of stuff that we've done together as a group, but there's still a lot of work to do and a lot of good things that I feel that we could do for the community that I would like to be a part of. So I do plan on running for re-election next year.
Do you see much engagement? Have you seen the engagement grow since you've been in office from the community?
I have. Now, I can't speak for every council person. I have my own councilman Facebook page, Councilman Scotty Edler.
You do a good job, by the way. I see the videos and the updates, so thank you for that.
I see a lot of, I get a lot of likes. I get a lot of shares. That's not why I do it, but I notice those things, and that kind of tells me that the community is watching these videos. They are cognizant of the fact that the information is being put out there. So I do see a lot of engagement. I get a lot of emails. I get a lot of phone calls. I try to call everyone back immediately or as quickly as I can. Emails, I try to get them back within 24 hours. I'm always out and about, always walking around, and people always are welcome to stop me and say, hey, I have a question about this, or hey, have you ever thought about this? Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. Some good ideas come from constituents just stopping me and saying, hey, I was thinking about this recently. Is there any way maybe you can discuss this? And I'm like, well, we've never actually thought about that, but that's a good idea. Let me work on that. So there, yes, I feel that the engagement, at least towards me, has been fairly good. I can't answer for the other 6 of us, but I do feel the engagement's good. I mean, I hear from people all the time, and not just hear from them. I actually have people say, hey, how do I get involved? Maybe not run for council, but, do you think there's a spot on a committee for me? Or this is what my career background is. Maybe I could help the town in some way. So I think there is some the engagement is getting better in town. I know that more people are voting now than have been voting in a long time. So, I mean, that's a good sign. So I think in that way, engagement is definitely up. Yeah.
Awesome. As we wrap up, any parting comments?
Well, I think I just want to say that, first of all, if I do win re-election, I have a couple of things I would like to do over the next couple of years. First, I want to continue with the infrastructure improvements. I think we do need to continue to modernize and improve the infrastructure in town. And I'd also like to make sure that is going to be mainly developer and state money, if we can, because again, if we're going to expand the town and new houses are going to be built, they obviously, the developers should have a hand in that. The other thing I really want to start working on is making sure that we, the town, lobbies Dover hard to make sure that we're getting our fair share of state money. Our districts, our representative district is Milton and Lewis, and our Senate district is Milton, Lewis, Rehoboth, Dewey. And we have 2 people who are very responsive when you pick up the phone and call them. Senator Russ Huxtable and Representative Stell Parker Selby. But at the same time, sometimes you look at Lewis and you look at Rehoboth, you look at Dewey, and they're getting awarded all this state money to build new things. Dewey Beach just got $11 million, I believe it was, to help with their new police station. The town of Milton needs a new police station. So I think one thing that I could do a better job with, or, be able to be successful, because I already have these relationships, is to lobby Dover, lobby these representatives and senators, not just R2, but start going up and talking to some of the others and making sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck, because we deserve to be, not, to be thought of the same as Rehoboth and Dewey and Lewis. Milton is up and coming. It is the place to be. Yes. You live there, Milton is the place to be. And so I want to make sure that we are definitely getting our fair share when it comes to infrastructure money. Another thing I'd like to really do is work on enhanced crosswalks in high impact areas. And what I mean by enhanced crosswalks are, better painting, make sure that, there's different ways we can paint them to make sure that they're better, more viewable. The art crosswalks have been very successful and they are beautiful, but they will eventually fade as things do when you're driving on them. I'd like to maybe see in some of the more high impact areas, maybe some of the crossing warning signs. But really, the biggest thing I want to continue to do is constituent services. And that's probably the thing I enjoy the most, is when people pick up the phone and they call me and they say they need help, I can pick up the phone and start calling around to figure out how to help them. So, and I just want to say that I kept my word to you, obviously, because I promised you that when and if I made my decision either way, whether I'd run for re-election or whether I would retire, that you'd be the first person I'd talk to. So
yeah, I appreciate the call.
I wanted to make sure that you were the first person, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So, and I want to just say, for the town's sake, that we really do appreciate you being in Milton. You bought that piece of property a few years ago, Linda Vista Plaza, and it has really been refurbished. It looks great. The courtyard looks good, and you've gotten some new exciting businesses in there. The chamber office is there now. You have the candy store,
that's right,
which is really neat.
The butcher shop.
The butcher shop. We still miss 302 Bicycle Shop.
That's
but,
right. We do.
But there's a lot of great little stores in there, and we don't have a lot of commercial space in Milton, as people know, in the downtown area. We probably have a handful, maybe 12 retail spaces in town, and you provided 2 new retail opportunities that people really enjoy. The candy shop is a really nice addition to town.
It is.
Yep. And I know that she sells other things like shirts and stuff like that. It's really a great addition, and we thank you for that, and we thank you for the investment you've put into Milton over the last couple of years, and hopefully we can continue that partnership. Obviously, you live in Milton, so you have an attachment to the town, just like I do.
Thank you so much. And I also just want to, none of this would be possible without my 2 partners, Craig Alamán and Dr. Aaron Green. And that was when we saw it in the market and it was time for us to pivot and do something else, that it was just ideal. And I'm just grateful that we are here and playing a role. I'm excited about the chamber being there. Right there, right downtown.
And it's great because if you're not familiar with Milton, you're walking around downtown, you see the chamber office, right. You can walk right in. You can get a pamphlet of different things that you can do in town, different stores, different restaurants. And they just hired a new young director. Jessica is her name. She's really hit the ground running. She's doing a really good job. And I think she's going to do a really good job for the people of Milton. And also remember that it's the Milton area. It's Milton and Harbison. But I selfishly am only going to concentrate on the Milton aspect of it. But, Milton is really well served by the chamber right now. They're really, they've got a real presence downtown now. We also have something that's called Milton Main Street that just started about a year ago, led by, a very fantastic woman, Gloria Garcia Ramos. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but that's another nonprofit that's going to help with revitalizing the downtown and business. So, we've got a lot of the town of Milton government, we have a lot of partners really helping us try to, bring Milton in, really into the 21st century and keep it there. And I'm very, very proud of these relationships, especially the relationships with the Chamber, Milton Main Street.
And the theater.
theater.
That excites me all the time, man. They are, bringing people into town, jamming, their festival, the music. We just love it, man.
I mean, I have to laugh because, part of the reason we need this new parking lot is because of the Milton Theater.
That's
It's a
right.
great problem for us all to have. That they're here.
Yes.
They bring in a lot of people. I think last year they said they had 89,000 tickets sold.
That's right.
That's insane.
Milton.
It's up. People think about Rehoboth, they think about Lewis, but don't sleep on Milton. We've got a lot going on. We've got new restaurants. We've got a hoppin' theater. We've got music every Wednesday night in Milton Memorial Park, every Thursday at the Quayside there next door to the theater. We've got festivals all summer long, starting about Memorial Day and going all the way through Labor Day. And of course, obviously, there's Wicked Weekend in October. We've got a lot going on, and Milton should be proud of just how alive and vibrant it is. And I know personally, I'm glad to live here, and I'm glad to have my son grow up here. And I hope everyone that lives in Milton feels the same way. I hope they enjoy being able to ride their bikes or walk with their spouse, take their dogs for a walk. That's the biggest thing about Milton. Rehoboth is a beach community. Lewis is they're tourist destinations. That's what they are. Milton is not that. Other than the theater, we are not a tourist destination. We're home. We're a community.
Man, that's a slogan right there.
And should have been the town tagline. But we are, if you think about it. People. Yes, you might come in for dinner or something, but people don't come to sit at the beach and walk the boardwalk and all that in Milton because we don't have any of that. We don't have those things. We are a small, what used to be rural farm town that still has the charm. Even as we have these growing pains that we've had, we still have that charm to us, and that's why I'm very proud of the work I've done over the last 2.5 years. And I'm excited about the possibility of serving, if reelected, for another 3 years. Serving this town has been, other than the day I got married to my wife and the day my son was born, which both happened beforehand, there has been no bigger honor in my life than serving on the Milton Town Council. And it has been an absolute pleasure and joy. It's been a pleasure to serve the people of the town of Milton, to represent them. And I hope to be able to do it again for another 3 years. So it's been something I've enjoyed doing a lot.
Wow. And with that, brother, thank you for your service,
José,
man.
thank you.
For your service.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service. Until the next time.